Today I'm going to be sitting down with a legend.
Come to you.
It's Ravin Dixie here with Ravin Dixie Line. We are filming the biker interview today at the Still Horseman Lodge. I am going to be interviewing the man, the myth, the biker, RamRodd. Hey RamRodd, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Well, I'm glad that you are being picked for the biker. So first of all, how did you get the name RamRodd?
Well, I guess that's one of my most asked questions. Well, coming up as a kid, I used to ride horses and work for cattle barns and stuff, and I was a cowboy kid watching westerns growing up, and I've always imagined and pictured myself riding a horse, out through the West, Oklahoma, Utah, Nevada, and stuff. And as I grew older, I thought about riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So I rode my motorcycles from Nashville to Fresno, California, to Las Vegas, and on out. So, but my name come from RamRodd Rowdy Yates.
Okay.
That was my favorite cowboy.
All right. Okay.
Wagons, rawhide,
Yeah.
And so I like the way old Clint Eastwood did his thing, and that's the when I joined Naptown Riders in 1983. I helped co-found Naptown Riders in '83, and they said, "Well, you had to have a club name."
Yeah.
I said, "Well, how about Randy?" That's what everybody called me. I said, "No, not Randy. You had to have a club name." He said, "My name is," Uncle Remus said, "My name is Brent."
Yeah.
So everybody called me Uncle Remus. So you had to have a club name. So I said, "Well, how about RamRodd?"
And it's fitting.
And
Been RamRodd ever since.
ever since. And I think some people might have it that it has a sexual connotation.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like how? Like
Well,
how they...
Put a smile on your face.
I guess. But let's go back for a minute. I know that you went to MTSU, played football at MTSU,
Yeah.
and then you were a member of the United States Air Force.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that is when you joined motorcycle.
Yeah. When I was in the Air Force, stationed in Dayton, Ohio, that's when I first started riding bikes. And then I go into Dayton to see the Toros Motorcycle Club.
Yeah.
And they had those sharp helmets with the horns and the red lights in the eyes, and and that got me.
Yeah.
So I would come home to my sister's house, and her husband had 3 motorcycles. He said, "Oh, just go out there and get one of them." So I just go out there and just ride the hell out of them.
Just stuck.
Just stuck.
You really liked it.
Yeah.
So I know that you co-founded Naptown Riders, but before that, were you in a club before that? Before you decided to co-found your own club?
Yeah. The first club I was affiliated with was the Street Jammers. And one of the guys that I worked with, he was a member, which was a brother-in-law. And this club was a family-oriented club. And we used to hang out with a club called the Free Spirit Motorcycle Club. They was down there. Yeah, they was on Charlotte.
Yeah.
And they would be everywhere we went. We was everywhere they went. They had a clubhouse, and it was open on Thursday nights. And so the guys said, "Well, Randy, you always hanging with us. You always with us." So them guys not doing nothing.
Yeah.
We doing something.
Yeah.
We riding, and I got my bike, and first road trip we took when I joined Free Spirit was Chicago. Got pulled over by the cops and took everybody's license, and we come back home Monday and went back to the state trooper place and got a new license.
Yeah. So RamRodd, I know that clubs there are the 99 percenters, and then there are the 1%.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that to the people that don't really know what all that means.
99%ers are clubs that's per se traditional clubs like Steel Horsemen, Naptown Riders, or Dirty South Riders, traditional clubs. And then you have 1% of clubs is like Outcast, Wheels of Soul, Thunder Guards. Then you have the White Boys, the Outlaws, the Pagans, the Hells Angels, the Galloping Goose. These guys are 1% white clubs. And the white clubs usually handle or white clubs. And the dominant black 1% club, which is in the state of Tennessee, is Outcast. And they is the dominant, which everybody kind of sort of look up to, respect, because they are the dominant club in the state. And me personally, I rode down to Atlanta, Georgia in 1981 to Outcast Motorcycle Club. And that's the club that I affiliate with the most.
Yeah,
you
the
know.
1%.
The 1%ers, yeah. I've learned a lot from them guys. I've learned the 1% lifestyle. And that's the lifestyle that I like.
You like. So what's the difference? What differentiates the 99%ers from the 1%ers?
Okay, I'm going to tell you how that 1%er came about. There was in California in the 40s. They was having a field meet back in the day, and the Outlaw, the Hells Angels, came to the field meet camp out, whatever they was having, and there was a ruckus. And the guy that was running it, he gets up there on stage and he says, 99% of you doing the right thing. It's them 1%ers that causing all the havoc, causing all the damn trouble, and we wish these 1%ers would leave. So the Hells Angels said, oh, he calling us 1%ers.
Yeah.
Well, hell, we'll take that. So that was the beginning of the difference in 99% and 1%ers. So, and when you're a 1%er, you got to know what you signed up for.
What's the saying? Everybody wants to be a 1%er until it's time to do 1%er shit. And then
exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like everybody want to be a soldier when there's no war.
Yeah.
But once there's a war, everybody want to fall back to the back lines,
Yeah.
And 1%ers stay up on the got new license.
Yeah. So what kind of bike did you ride?
Oh, it was a 750 Honda.
750 Honda.
Yeah.
So that was like everything back then.
Oh yeah, that was the bike.
That was the bike.
Yeah.
So when you were with
Free Spirit.
Free Spirit. So you were with Free Spirit.
Yeah.
So that part I didn't catch because I know you were with somebody else. So they coached you into becoming a member of Free Spirit. So you switched over to Free Spirit.
Right.
What year was that?
I think 81.
In the 81?
Yeah.
1981?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're coming up on the time where you decided to...
Well, the Free Spirit Motorcycle Club and Naptown Riders was brother clubs. You become brother clubs with another club for hanging out and meeting and greeting and say if they going to visit another club, well, we would meet them, or we would tell them we was going to another club and we would meet them there, or say Naptown Riders was having a picnic.
Yeah.
They would invite us from Nashville up to Indianapolis. We'd ride our bikes up and we'd hang out for the weekend and Brotherhood and fellowship with Naptown Riders. And the two guys that came to Nashville. One was Uncle Remus. He
Uncle
was
Remus.
from Kokomo, Indiana.
Okay.
And then the other one, his name was Snake.
Okay.
He was belonged to the Anderson, Indiana chapter. And when I was in Nashville, and they said, "Hey, Randy, why don't you just come and help us start a chapter, the Naptown Riders?" And with little, so and I knew what Naptown Riders was all about.
Yeah.
So we started the chapter of Nashville chapter Naptown Riders in April of 1983.
Yeah. So you've been on the set for a long time, a number of years.
Yeah.
What makes you stick around? Like, what do you love about being on the set?
The Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood?
Yeah.
Yeah?
The riding, the Brotherhood. Now it has become a way of life.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle. A lot of guys buy bikes and they own, I call them motorcycle owners.
Yeah.
They're motorcycle
They're not
owners.
riders?
They're not riders. They only ride when it's 90 degrees out there if it's not too hot for them, and blue skies and sunshine. That's the only time a lot of these guys ride. And a lot of guys gets in clubs and they don't even have a motorcycle.
Yeah. So what is that? What is that called? Do you think that we've somewhat gotten away from how it originally was supposed to be?
Yeah.
So what do you think that is like the biggest difference today than it was back when you began?
Well, one of the big differences is knowing the club you're going to join, and the club knowing you. Then you go through a prospect stage or a probate stage, and you get to learn the club. The prospect get to learn the club get to learn the prospect,
Right.
and see what you're made of. And it would be 90 days or so, 6 months, and now they just, a lot of clubs, what we call pop-up clubs, is just letting guys in, and then they go from club to club to club to club.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I probated, for club, for the free spirit, and now it's just
So how long was your probationary period?
90 days.
90 days?
Yeah.
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 So what would you recommend to the leaders that are out here? I know you've mentored a lot of founders here recently, like in the 2000 period or whatnot. What advice do you give them, and what advice would you give any other founder to have that staying power, that longevity?
It is simply lead by example. Lead by example. Yeah. For example, presidents, vice presidents don't pay club dues. I've always paid club dues.
Yeah.
Because I want to help my club out. And if the members see the president mopping the floor, sweeping the floor, taking the trash out, doing the cooking or whatever function you're having, if the president is doing his thing, doing his part, so guess what? Everybody got to pull their weight.
Yeah, they follow suit.
Follow suit. So I would tell a guy now, ladies now, to lead by example.
So what do you think about that? You said the ladies. So what do you think about females, bikers, and SCs?
I've mentored some ladies also.
Yes.
And back in the 80s, I've taught several ladies how to ride. Martha Bell is one. She was a member of the Free Spirit back in the early 80s, and I taught her how to ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't really know how parties were back then, and they're so different from how they are now because they were like total weekends back then, right? So you would start like on a Friday and Thursday. So what was it like then?
It was like you come to a camp out We used to call them camp out field meets. You'd ride up on your bike, you'd have a sleeping bag or a quilt or a little pup tent,
Yeah.
a little dome tent, and you would set it up, and you and your guys would have a little campfire and, little pup tent. And it was exciting back then.
Yeah.
Because everybody would go camp to camp, and they had their little camp to camp, and they'd have their little grills,
Yeah.
drinking and stuff, and it wasn't the confusion that you have now. That Sunday, they would have all kind of races, dirt bike races, the boot race, the egg race, the weenie bite, it was really, it would really give the clubs something to do and participate in, making you feel like the road runners. They used to have a big camp out, and they had a lot of games and stuff that individuals, your club, compete against each other's clubs. And that was the fun part.
Like a healthy competition.
Oh, it was a healthy,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a healthy competition, yes.
All right, so I know that you've mentored a lot of people. So who was your mentor coming up?
My mentor was Don Stanton. He ran the Free Spirit Motorcycle Club back in the day. And Money Ivory. Money Ivory was Scooter Bum. He was president of the Peace Riders Motorcycle Club in Gallatin, Tennessee. The first time I seen this man, I had no idea who he was. I was in the car coming to Tennessee, and he was on this old 750 Honda. Didn't have a seat on it.
So he was just sitting on the bar?
He had a piece of sheet metal with a goat
Doesn't that
skin.
get hot?
With-
Okay, the goat skin.
With a little goat, hell, a goat skin is just.
Oh my goodness.
And he had struts. A strut is no springs, no give,
Yeah.
and he was hardcore.
That is hardcore.
He was truly hardcore. And when I was probating, he treated me like a piece of shit.
Yeah, no nonsense.
No nonsense.
I mean, he's
man.
riding on sheet metal and goat skin, so he's like, he's serious. He's
He was
rider.
serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what lessons did they teach you that have stuck with you?
The Brotherhood.
The Brotherhood?
Yeah. In riding. Get out there and ride your bike, go meet and greet other brothers and sisters. And you crossing state lines. You go to Indianapolis, you go to Dayton, you go to Alabama, you go to Georgia.
Yeah.
You ride out to Kansas City. And that's what the style of riding that I like to do.
Just that traveling.
Is that distance ride. I used to ask, how many miles is it? It's 560 miles. And now I ask, how many state lines do I have to cross?
So things have changed.
Yeah, you cross 4 or 5 state lines instead of 560 miles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I know it's not always like good on the set. Like I know that you have a close relationship with the set. It's not always great.
Yeah.
Tell us about like some times that you've had that maybe weren't so great, because it's not always fun and
No, it's not.
we want the big, the bad, the good, the ugly,
Okay.
all of it.
Well, in the old days, back in the day, if one of my members had a spat with one of your members, they would say, hey, RamRodd, come and get your man.
Yeah.
Come and get your girl, your guy, whatever. And it would be stopped right then. If they didn't stop, the clubs would get a circle. Say, you want to be badasses? Get in the circle, and y'all duke it out, just you two. And that's it. Now,
And just leave it there.
whoever wins, buy the winner buy the loser a drink or beer or whatever, and you continue to party.
And it's just squashed right then and there.
And the worst part of it is, 8 or 9, I guess it's 9 years now. 2 club members was fighting each other over a lady. I won't even call her a lady, a woman. And they had been into it for a couple of weeks. And it should have been stopped. Their president should have stopped that then.
Yeah.
But they come to our party. We had one of the largest parties ever, Naptown Riders ever had. And they get into a fight and a fist fight as you come in the tickets. And they call for me. RamRodd, they fight. Well, I go and break it up, get my boys. I say, y'all get him, I'm gonna get this one. We get him outside, and I asked him, I said, well, where your car at, man? He says, in the back. So I take him to the back. I said, you know, we don't have this shit.
Yeah.
So we'll straighten you out. And we get to the back of the building. The other guys that left, this guy he was fighting, go. We go to the back of the building, and I see him, the other guy. He's cursing and carrying on. Then when he gets a little closer, I'm talking 15 feet closer, I realize he had a gun in his hand. And he's cursing the guy out, but he's looking at me. And then I see him raise his hand and he shoots the gun and shoot me in the leg. Well, I fall down on the pavement, okay? Now I look up at the guy he's fighting with, and I'm like, fool, run.
Yeah.
He just stands there. And he shoots him in the, above his left eye. Back of his head come apart. Psh. Brains, blood, skull, all over the damn place.
Yeah.
And this guy with the gun, he stands there. He look at me, he look at him, and he turns in a little circle. It seemed like time just stopped. And he looked down at me and he said, fuck it. I'm not gonna spend the rest of my life in jail. Watch this. You put the gun into his throat and pull the trigger. Before I could say, hey man, stop, don't do it, his head come apart. Shit goes everywhere.
Yeah.
Blood, yeah. So, now that's the worst
Oh,
that can
yeah.
happen.
That's bad.
Yes.
So how do you recover from that? Like, how do you, I mean, you almost lost your life. Like, how do you stay and
To be honest, I haven't recovered.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
see it. I see him. A lot of time at night, I'm in the bed, you know. Or in the day, you know, when I'm working, doing my job. It's a playback thing too, you know. PTS, post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
That's what, you know. I'm a veteran too, so I don't, you know, I've talked to veterans, I've talked to, you know.
So basically, you just what is it? Compartmentalize. Like you
Yeah.
just keep going.
So that's, and back in the day, we had control over guys, not control a man,
Yeah. but
a man would listen to his brothers, his president, his officer in charge of the group, and would stop. And nowadays, young guys nowadays, it seems like everybody want to pull their guns out and start shooting.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a big difference right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty brutal. I don't know if I would still be on the set if, you know.
Somebody
But
got to carry on.
somebody's got to carry on,
Yeah.
and you're always the cowboy. You're always.
I've never fell off.
Yeah. Never.
Never.
Since you've been here.
Since I've been on the set, I've always had at least one motorcycle or two. Like now I got two. But, you know, I've never, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I mean by falling off is, like some clubs you can get 5 years in, you can retire, or 10 years in, and you can retire. Well, I spent 34 years with the Naptown Riders. And
That's a lifetime.
yeah,
It's my lifetime.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a true brotherhood. You're a true member,
True biker.
true biker, true
Yeah.
rider, for sure. So, what is like the craziest thing that you've done on the bike?
We have an audience.
So, okay, keep it. You can keep it PG. What is the most PG version of the craziest thing you've done on the bike?
Well, riding down the road and your passenger, she gets to fooling with you and you just pull over the side of the road and let nature take its course.
It just let nature take its course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
yeah.
a man and she's a woman, so boom, there we
Yeah,
go.
we can all use
Yeah.
our imaginations from
Yeah.
there. Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah.
crazy. So,
Yeah.
is there any advice that you would like to give any bikers out there today? If you feel like anybody's doing anything wrong, and you
Well,
just some words of wisdom to the masses.
be true to the game.
Yeah.
Be true to your club.